What are demons? That's what we're going to talk about today. What exactly are demons? Well, every demon is a fallen angel. That means that every demon is a messenger from God who has a gift for us. And the thing is if we don't understand the gift, if we don't receive the gift, if we cannot receive the communication, then that angel becomes fallen. It falls into the unconscious, into hell, and becomes a demon. Hello, good morning, folks. So today, what we're talking about, what are demons? And demons are fallen angels. So what's an angel? An angel is a messenger from God who brings gifts. When we receive messages from God, from our deep self, from our larger self, and our ego is constricted in such a way that we're not able to receive the message, we're not able to understand the communication, we're not able to get the gift, then that angel falls into the unconscious, into hell, and becomes a demon. When that angel falls into the unconscious and becomes a demon, that means it starts coming out sideways. It starts possessing us at times and taking over our conscious will so that we're no longer fully in control, and starts doing things that are designed to give us its gift, that are designed to give us its message. But the demon, because it's fallen into the unconscious, now it's disassociated from the larger self. Now it is disassociated from the wisdom of the whole. So it goes about giving its gift in a confused way. It goes about transmitting its message in a confused way. So a huge role of human existence, a huge point of human life, is to act as a redeeming mediator to these demons. So the modern psychological term for this is autonomous complex. So that's what Carl Jung would have called it. He would have said this is an autonomous psychic complex. What's an autonomous psychic complex? Well, it's a part of the self that splits off when the self is under some sort of intense stress, pressure, trauma. And this little part of the self becomes disassociated from the conscious personality. And it has a job to do. And that job might be protecting us. That job is usually some version of keeping us safe. So, and ultimately, why does it want to keep us safe? It wants to keep us safe so that we can survive and live and be happy. So basically, all of these demons, all of these unconscious autonomous complexes have a really loving, positive intention. Innocence is infinite. All appearance of evil comes from confusion. There's just confusion, there's just mistakes. What underlies all of that confusion, all of that mistake, is pure, absolute innocence. So every single part of us is completely innocent and loving. And actually, although it sure doesn't seem like it, every single person in the world has as their being, as their spirit, pure, loving innocence. And their actions and their thoughts and their beliefs and behaviors can be super confused and super destructive. But the fundamental essence of all of our beings is this pure innocence. So a major task for us as humans is to get into relationship with these disassociated, unconscious, demonic parts of our own self and learn how to reassociate them, learn how to teach them their innocence and their full truth, learn how to give them resources so they can give their gifts, deliver their messages in a effective, skillful way instead of an unskillful, harmful way. So this is the task of humanity right now. And this, by the way, in older ages was known as Solomonic magic. So there's this legend, which is at the base of a lot of Western esotericism, which is that King Solomon built the Temple of Jerusalem by commanding demons under the authority of the angels. So he knew the sacred names of the 72 angels of the holy name, the Shem Ham Faresh, and he invoked those angels, and by the power of those angels, he harnessed the 72 demons of the Goetia, and he commanded them to build the temple, and they did. So that's a fun story, and it's a metaphor for how we build the temple of the redeemed, restored self. So how do we become beacons of integration, harmony, peace, rather than, completely dysfunctional, broken down people, which is what the modern world pressures us to be. Nobody profits, by the way. I mean, there's less profit in you being a healthy, happy, balanced, thriving person than there is in you being a sick, dysfunctional person. So pretty much the modern world, there's plenty of financial incentives for plenty of people for us to be very sick, very confused, very divided against ourselves, very reliant on pharmaceuticals, consumerism, all sorts of things that people do when they're miserable to try to feel better. So this is a spiritual battle, and this is a psychological battle. We are in an era of deep psychological warfare, and if you're not yet understanding of that, now is the time to really get into understanding that. Neptune has just moved into Aries. We're in the last time Neptune moved into Aries, the US went into a civil war. I don't believe that will happen again, but there is already a war, and I believe there's going to be more widespread awareness of this, and things are going to intensify in various ways. Please ask me questions if you don't understand what psychological warfare is, or comment if you do, because I can get into explaining it more. But basically, there's all sorts of people with all sorts of agendas, and there is tragically physical, violent warfare going on in the world today in various places. And the main sort of warfare that's being waged, say, in developed countries like the United States, is this psychological warfare. And it's being waged on social media with memes, with ideas, with narratives, with ideologies. And there's a way in which we have to find how to stay strong, how to become more wholesome, more thriving in the middle of this battle. And because the more possessed by our own shadows, by our own demons that we are, the weaker we are, and the more susceptible we are to psychological manipulation that comes with this kind of warfare. So, how do we reconnect with these demons? How do we heal them? How do we bring the demons under the command of the angels? That's the really, really important question. And there's tools for doing this. So there's a simple form of dialogue called reframing. And we do this a whole lot in my Battle Magic course, which I'll be offering in the first weeks of May. We get in touch with these disowned parts of ourselves and we dialogue with them. And through really, really loving, really, really respectful dialogue, we gradually learn what the intention of these parts are, what their messages are, and we reconnect them with the creative genius parts of ourselves. And we ask them to come up with new creative ways to give us their gifts. And then they do. And then it can be, I had an experience the other day. I was working with a client. So I do one-on-one coaching from time to time. So I was working with a one-on-one client, and they had this lifelong feeling of, I'm not good enough. This deep, pervasive self-rejection and feeling of, I'm not good enough. And I knew immediately, that's a demon. And that demon needs to be integrated. That demon needs to be redeemed. That demon needs to be connected with the larger guardian angel part of that person. So what we did is we entered into a dialogue with this part, and indeed it was a part that had split off when the person was very young. And it was, we found the ultimate intention of this part was positive. The intention was protection. The person needed to believe that they were not good enough, because by believing that, they would give off the vibes that would basically keep their abuser away. Like, they couldn't, if they felt totally good about themselves in their home growing up, that would just activate more negative attention from the abuser, and that would, the person could have died. So this part was trying to protect this person by giving them this feeling of, I'm not good enough. So we got deep into dialogue with this part. Very respectful, very gentle, very loving. Because this part thought that the person was very young. This part thought that the person was 7 years old. So we used techniques to grow up the part so that they could learn that the person was an adult, wasn't 7 years old anymore. And we really spent time recognizing and honoring this disassociated autonomous complex, this demon, and really honoring the loyalty and the gifts and the devotion and how much they had been persisting in trying to give protection and safety to this person. And when the part was willing, we asked them to get together with the creative genius part of the person and find 3 new ways to give that person a feeling of safety, to give that person resources that would help them thrive, that did not include feeling not good enough, that did not include hating themselves, that did not include criticizing themselves. So this part did that. It got together with the creative genius. It found 3 new ways. We had it dream a dream in which it tried out living through the 3 new ways. And it was this deep, long process. This took a few hours. And eventually the part was like, I like these new ways better. I have these resources now. We're older now. I have these other ways of making us safe and helping us thrive. I don't need to use the gift of making you feel not good enough in order to give you the protection anymore. So this part recognized this. And the person in dialogue with this part recognized that in this part, in this unconscious part, this angel, really this angelic part of them that had fallen into the unconscious, was truly loving, truly a best friend to them, a truly loyal best friend. So there was this exquisite, it was like psychedelically heart-opening, mind-opening. It was such a gift to see, such a gift to do this work, where this person realized that this part, they thought they had an inner enemy, but actually they had an inner best friend. They had an inner angel. And once this inner angel learned new resources, became redeemed by being reassociated with the creative part, there was just this incredible love. There's this incredible falling in love and incredible new coherence and congruence and recognition of deep, deep inner self-love. And it was absolutely gorgeous. Yes, Sacred Flames, emotional alchemy. That's exactly what it is. And I've done this many times with myself. I've done this many times with other people. And it's just fresh in my mind because I just did it recently with this client. And I checked in with the client today, and they say they feel absolutely in love with themselves. And this is a person who was suicidal a week ago, who was having constant thoughts about how they weren't good enough and how they needed to end their life. And now they're joyful, they're in love with themselves because they have redeemed that demon and they turned it into an angel. They found it was secretly an angel all along. So I have endless optimism for the transformation of ourselves, our lives. I have endless optimism that this is possible. And by the way, you can DM me if you're interested in doing this one-on-one work. I do one-on-one sessions at my home or online that are like these all-day sessions. I'm doing them for $1,000 right now because that's what fits. So if you're able to travel to Pittsburgh, if you're able to meet me and spend a day with me, those sessions exist. What was I talking about? So when we and that one-on-one work with me is a bit expensive, which is why in Battle Magic, Battle Magic, I think there's a payment plan. It's like $99 a month. And we do this work as a group. And we do this work and I show people how to pair up and do it with each other. So it becomes more accessible because I have Bodhisattva vows. So I'm really, really invested in this work becoming super accessible. Yes, Sacred Flames, like feeding your demons. Hi, Fiverr. Great to see you this morning. So I have endless optimism about the transformation of the world. Sometimes people think maybe it's delusional optimism because I truly believe it's possible to bring heaven on earth. I know that it is because I've seen it multiple times. I've seen demons redeemed into angels over and over again. So I know that the demons who are causing the terrible wars that we see, who are causing the terrible terrible epidemics of addiction and depression and anxiety, the kind of greed and raping and pillaging of the earth that breaks our hearts so much. I know that these are driven by entities who are actually angels, who are actually really, really trying to give deep gifts, really, really trying to give deep, deep messages of love. But they're just confused. They've just fallen into confusion. They've fallen into unconsciousness. They have become lost. And as magicians, as saints, as loving, conscious beings, it is humanity's job to get in touch with these disassociated autonomous complexes, with these demons, and redeem them and find them as angels again, discover their angelic qualities, receive their gifts, receive their messages, update them, connect them with the creative genius, i.e. connect them with God, because that's the creator, right? The part of us that dreams our nighttime dreams. You don't know how to dream your nighttime dreams. You don't know how to do that, but the creator within you knows how to do that. So most people have forgotten this, that it's humanity's role is to mediate between the lower realms and the higher realms. So I have great optimism that we can do this, and it happens on an individual level. Authentic, I'm so glad that you're receiving this message. I'm so glad you're letting yourself feel it in your heart and you're feeling that it's coming in tears. It's really the truth. The truth is that the demons that cause all the deep problems in the world can absolutely be integrated, can absolutely be healed, can absolutely be redeemed. It's their destiny to be healed and redeemed. Universal salvation is what's true. I can't pronounce the Greek word. Apokatasis. Anyways, I'll work on it. Universal salvation, the ultimate redemption of everyone, including the devil, including the devilish demonic forces that are driving drug trafficking, child trafficking, war, abuse, exploitation of all kinds. That ends when every single one of us, or at least actually, you know what? I don't even think it has to be every single one of us. I think that it happens when there's a certain concentration, a certain critical mass number of people does this work within themselves, connects with the demons within themselves, redeems them, finds their loving intentions, finds their gifts, reconnects those disassociated demonic parts with the creator, with creative genius inside of us. Excuse me. When enough of a critical mass of people does that, then the whole situation on the world changes because we humans are united. Sorry, I've been drinking fizzy water and coffee and they don't really mix. We humans are united by a collective unconscious, okay? So everybody knows that, right? Like we, at the level of our deepest dreams, at the level of our souls, we're all connected. And we're all sensing that a big change is afoot. And the change is this: we're changing from being a collective unconscious to being a collective consciousness. The difference between being a collective unconscious and a collective consciousness is that when we are a collective consciousness, all parts of ourselves are connected directly to the creator, to the creative genius, to the part that really has solutions and really knows how to give good gifts. So what happens is when a critical mass of individuals do this work, then the whole collective shifts, because then there's this node created in the collective unconscious, which is a node of awakening, a node of redemption, a node, a concentration that is transmitting and broadcasting and weaving out into the whole collective that says, this is how we work with the disassociated parts. This is how we work with the demons. This is how we redeem them through absolute love and seeing their innocence and trusting in that. You know, the famous Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard said that to love is to believe that the other is loving. I'll say that again. To love is to believe that the other is loving. So a lot of us deep spiritual people, we have the intention to love the world. We have the intention to love other people. We have the intention to love our own dark parts, but we don't know how. And I'm telling you, this is how. You begin by believing that the other is loving. No matter how distorted their behavior is, no matter if they seem like they're trying to hurt you, believing that fundamentally they have a positive intention and they're just confused. So when we do this redemption work, and enough, a concentration, a critical mass does it, I'm thinking the number that I have in mind is 10,000. 10,000 people really completely doing this work, completely getting in touch with their own innocence, doing all of this alchemical transmutation. That is enough to create this huge density, this huge shift in the collective. And once there's that kind of shift, it's pretty easy for dominoes to fall. It's pretty easy for the whole consciousness of the collective to change. So I call this alchemical literacy. And the example that I use is the spread of actual literacy, right? So for thousands of years, reading and writing was considered to be the provenance of only a few special people. Only the kings and the priests could read and write, and it was thought that, regular people were just too stupid, they couldn't do it. And that proved to be completely false. The printing press was invented, and it turns out that almost everybody on earth can learn how to read and write. Almost everybody can become literate. So likewise, I think it's true that learning how to do this transmutation of our disassociated, autonomous parts who are confused and who are behaving in demonic ways, that is alchemical literacy. And for thousands of years, only really special people have done that. Only enlightened people or saints or people who devoted their whole lives to spiritual development really succeeded in redeeming these hellish parts of themselves. But I think alchemical literacy can absolutely spread like wildfire. Alchemical literacy can spread just like regular literacy spread. It's just a skill. It just requires learning. And that's what I'm teaching in my work, and that's what we're doing in Battle Magic. In addition, we're also doing some very intense astral theurgy that also battles incoherence. So if anybody has any questions about this, I would love to hear them. But the message that I'm trying to carry, the banner that I'm trying to wave around, is our situation is not hopeless. Even though there are very, very dark things operating on Earth right now, even though there are these demons, which are these angels that have fallen into the unconscious, that have become disassociated from the Creator, they've become disassociated from the creative genius part of ourselves, we can redeem them. We can dialogue with them. We can reassociate them with the Creator, and they can regain their angelic function. And when they regain their angelic function, wow, the sky is the limit. And also what this is analogous to is accessing free energy. So something that people notice when they do this integrative work, that I've noticed when I do this integrative work of integrating my demons and turning them back into what they are, which is angels, I gain so much more energy in my life. Lots of us are low energy because we are in a disintegrated state. We are in an incoherent state. Our whole society is disintegrated and incoherent. And that means that our energies are divided. And so our energies are working against themselves. And so we're in this condition of depletion. But in the unconscious, in the larger self, there is endless energy. There is divine energy. And the physical analogy to this, to making the unconscious conscious, is accessing the free energy in the 0 point field in the, what's it called? The void matrix equilibrium is what Buckminster Fuller called it. And, there's people like Stephen Greer talking about how that's what star friends are trying to offer us, is this knowledge, this technology, which Tesla supposedly uncovered and other people have uncovered, of how to access the free energy in that void matrix equilibrium, because it's there to be accessed. And we have been in this scarcity mindset where we keep using fossil fuels and we don't tune into this free energy, and there's haves and there's have-nots. But I truly believe that that's about to end. And one of the ways that that ends is by us beginning to access the free spiritual energy inside of us. And that is analogous metaphorically to when we get to tap into this infinite abundance on the outside. Ember's Haven says, can you expand on the battle against incoherence? I understood the battle magic for demon. Does coherence fall under that too? Yes, Ember. So the way that one battles demons isn't by killing them. That doesn't work. The way one battles demons is by taking their incoherence and bringing it into a larger coherence. So truly, somebody mentioned chode, because it is like chode. It is like feeding and nourishing and giving the demon what it really needs to transform back into its natural state as an angel. So this is like returning to the Garden of Eden, returning to paradise. So what we would call evil is a condition of imbalance, is a condition of incoherence. I think it's more useful to talk about good and bad than good and evil. Good and really, really bad, because things get really, really bad when they're really, really out of balance and really, really disassociated from truth, disassociated from new, fresh, creative learning. And that's what demons are. They are these parts of ourselves that have become imprisoned, unconscious, disconnected from the whole. And they have to be with love and respect and patience and gentleness, because a lot of them are just, they're like little children. They're really like little hurt children. Brought back into relationship with the resources of the solar heart, which is that endless creativity, which is that endless love, which is that endless light, true spiritual light. So there's nothing outside of that light. There's nothing outside the light of the sun behind the sun. Even darkness is actually luminous. I don't know if you've ever, if you ever close your eyes, you can see there's all sorts of light in the darkness. You'll see these little flickering, sparkly lights. That's the light of consciousness. It's everywhere. It's in the deepest, darkest void womb is filled with that light. There is no such thing as as darkness without light. It's actually pervasive. So we start to learn this, and we start to reintegrate. We start to bring coherence into these lost, forgotten, hurt parts of ourselves. And then it becomes a cascading effect. It becomes a domino effect. And the whole world learns to do this. I just told you the story about this person who had this demon that was making them feel, telling them that they were not good enough and making them feel suicidal and making them feel miserable. And we learned that that part was actually a disassociated part that was very young, that needed to learn and grow up and gain new creative resources. And once it did, it was all along, it had been loving and trying to protect that person. Well, The same thing is true for these forces driving these wars. The same thing is true for these forces driving this exploitative capitalism. The same thing is true for these forces driving, these globalist, totalitarian, surveillance state control schemes. These are all disassociated, confused parts who are trying to produce a good result. They're trying to produce safety. They're trying to produce, they're trying to produce safety for the people who are being parasitically possessed by them. And they just need to be reconnected with wholeness. So authentic is asking, is light split apart diabolical? They are no longer symbolic. I learned this from you. Yes, exactly. Authentic is referring to something that I was taught, which is that the word diabolos means thrown apart, and the word symbolos means brought together. Symbols, when we're really interacting with them in the best way, are so powerful because they help us bring together the disassociated parts of ourselves. That's why the glyph of the Kabbalah, that's why the images of the tarot cards, that's why the Thema Mundi of astrology and other mandalas are so important, because they're symbols of wholeness. So yes, what we do is we bring together the disassociated parts into wholeness, and then they gain a new coherence, a new love, a new skillfulness. Winged Alchemy official says, what's the balance of this redemption work and integration work with banishing rituals? How can they work together to create a new world inside and out of greater union? Winged Alchemy, so all real banishing of negative forces is this redemption work. Period, the end. There's nothing, that's it. So anything that calls itself a banishing, that just acts like it's sending something somewhere else, it's not really sending it somewhere else. You'll notice that things come back. They come right back. So if you really want to banish something, this is what has to be done, this integrative work. And a lot of people get confused because one of the main rituals in theurgy and one of the main rituals that we do in battle magic is called the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And it uses what's called a banishing earth pentagram. But what are you doing? Are you banishing the planet Earth when you draw the banishing earth pentagram? Are you banishing the solidity of earthiness? No, you aren't. Well, how do I say it? What you are doing is you are banishing solidity to some extent. You are lessening the false appearance of solidity. You are lessening the false appearance of permanence. So the truth of everything is sunyata. The truth of everything is this dream. We're in a dream state. So the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram helps you banish or lessen, or how do I say, make more fluid, make softer, that appearance of over solidity that the world often has, which confuses many people. And it puts you more in touch with the dreamlike, fluid, sunyata nature of reality. And the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is actually an invocation ritual. It's an invocation of the archangels. So it's a little bit confusingly named. Yes, so that's what I would say about that. It is the case that there are, how would I say, this gets into a complex issue, which is that the archetype of evil itself has to be reintegrated into a divine image. It can't be directly integrated by the ego. So there are ways to do that, and we do that in battle magic. It's done through active imagination. So, my voice is getting a little bit tired today, so maybe tomorrow I will talk about how this work of relating to archetypes of the devil itself, of complete, evil, darkness, ignorance, possession, addiction, how can those be integrated and healed? And the short answer is you have to integrate them back directly to the divine. But I can talk more about that. So Mother Teresa says, once we've made friends with our demons, we can have compassion on others. Precisely. And the less we've made friends with our demons, the more vulnerable we are to psychological warfare. A lot of the psychological warfare out there that's being run by corporations, banks, technocrats, various countries with various agendas, various intelligence agencies, is all about creating resentment, creating division, creating hatred towards specific groups of people. So that whoever is running those psyops can have greater control, can get people to go along with totalitarian schemes like submitting to medical experiments, like submitting to being completely surveyed at all times, like submitting to all sorts of rather intense stuff. These psychological warfare operations, we become much less vulnerable to them the more integrated we are, because then the more love and coherence and unity and compassion we have within ourselves, the less we're able to be tricked into acting against our own best interests out of some sort of delusional hatred or delusional belief that, I'll just stop there. Mossy Blue says, when I do LBRP, I feel like I'm opening portals. True. Yes, Mossy Blue, when you're doing the LBRP, you are literally drawing the golden mean spiral all over yourself. So you're all around yourself. So you are opening up the portal of infinite love, infinite beauty, infinite balance. That's what the pentagram contains. That's why it's so powerful. Vera Peregrine says, battle magic sounds like peace magic. You know what? It is, Vera, but battle sounds sexier. That's what I've learned. That's my whole bait and switch marketing, is that if you tell somebody that you're offering to connect them with peace and balance and equanimity, they just like go to sleep. Nobody wants that. Equanimity, peace, and balance doesn't get attention. So I call it battle magic because it is. It is true that there is a psychological and spiritual war going on. It's also true that most of the ways that people try to fight this psychological and spiritual war are counterproductive, because they get obsessed with being like, ew, it's that group of people out there. They're doing it to me. It's the evil cabal. It's it's this religious group. It's that group and that sexuality. It's complete nonsense. That's not what it is. It's demons. It's these archons. Demons all together in groups form these larger entities called archons. St. Paul talked about them in the New Testament. He said, we're not battling against people. We're not battling against flesh and blood. Our battle is with powers and principalities. Our battle is with archons. And that's what it is. And here's the thing. You cannot battle a demon or an archon with hatred or resentment either. That doesn't work. They feed on that. That's their food. If you are feeling really angry at the demon of addiction, if you're feeling really angry at the demon of child trafficking, if you're feeling, all of this hatred and rage, and you want to kill the people who are possessed by this demon, and you want to kill the demon itself, that just feeds the demon. That literally just gives it energy. So that's rough. And that's why this is hard. That's why humanity hasn't figured this out yet. If we have hating people and being angry that bad things happen, or, setting out to destroy or eliminate something, if that worked, we'd already be in heaven on earth by now, because we've been trying that for millennia and it absolutely does not work. The only thing that works is absolutely loving, absolutely healing, absolutely integrating everything. So I'll give you an example. There's hundreds, thousands, it's very bleak to think about, of people right now participating in child trafficking, putting children in shipping containers. Obviously that's evil. Obviously that's heinous. Obviously, if I really thought, if I go into thinking about it too much, I'll just be spend the whole day sobbing and I won't be able to function. It's heartbreakingly, debilitatingly evil. And the people trying to do that, people doing that, they have positive intention. They want to be happy. They want to be safe. They have this part of themselves that believes that they can be happy and safe at the expense of children, at the expense of other people. That's not true. That part is deeply confused. That part is a confused child itself. Those people doing that are, I bet you any amount of money, I would bet you billions of dollars, that the people perpetrating that against other children were themselves deeply, deeply wounded as children and are deeply, deeply confused. Their essence is complete innocence. Their essence is complete lovingness. Their essence is complete goodness. And they are confused. What they need is reintegration. What they need is reunion with the Creator. What they need is reunion with the creative genius part. That knows how to heal, that knows how to give them redemption, that knows how to show them another way of life, that knows how to undo their confusion. And the thing is that the people actively engaged in that are not listening to spiritual Instagram talks. They're not, they're not meditating, they're not praying, they're not connecting with higher forces. So it's us. We are the warriors. We are the people who are spiritually curious, the people who are geared towards integration, the people who are geared towards coherence and love and balance. We have to completely do the work on our own selves, redeeming our own confused parts, so that this work infects the collective and becomes accessible to even these people who are in these extreme corridors of confusion, extreme corridors of apparent darkness. When the beacon of truth becomes strong enough and bright enough, when the beacon of truth becomes strong enough and bright enough, when the beacon of this is how we heal becomes concentrated and loud, becomes, when all of us are experiencing incredible coherence and unity and healing in ourselves, that broadcasts throughout the collective, and it starts reaching even these very, very confused people in organized crime, in, intelligence agencies, at high levels of government, who are technocrats, who are it starts changing things at a deep level. It spreads, an awakening wave that spreads. Authentic Tea says, I remember you saying war is a catalyst, though. Doesn't anger and war play a part in the integration and alchemy? Yes, it plays the part of being what's integrated. It's something to be integrated. So I guess that's the main thing that I have to say about it, is it's there. It's real, and it can be healed. Mother Teresa says, can you explain Revelation to us? Yeah. Maybe I should save that for tomorrow, though. But I'll just say this real quick about the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is called the Revelation of Jesus Christ. And every character in the book of Revelation and every character in the book of Revelation is Jesus Christ. That's the revelation. So the whore of Babylon, the Queen of Heaven, the New Jerusalem, the beast, the angels, the people getting punished by lakes of fire, everybody is Jesus. That's all Jesus. That's all Christ. That's all who we are. And one of my favorite bits concerning the book of Revelation is that the whore of Babylon is drinking a cup filled with the blood of Jesus. She's drinking the Eucharist. She's partaking of redemption. And we are all the whore of Babylon. We are all the lost, confused soul in the world. And we all need to drink that blood. We need to drink the blood of Jesus, drink the blood of, the wine of our fornications, our sex magic elixir of the universe. Drink that in and pour it over ourselves and completely dissolve into the Holy Grail, completely dissolve into the cup of Babylon. And when we do, we reemerge as the New Jerusalem, as the bride of Christ, who's completely white, wearing a white wedding dress, without stain, without flaw, perfectly beautiful. And we become that way not by our own effort, not by striving and proving. We become that way completely thanks to the truth of who we are, which is Christ. We are all Christ. You can call it Christ, Buddha, Goddess, Self, the Tao, the Rigpa, the non-dual truth, whatever the flip you want to call it. That's what it is, and that's what we are. And the only problem ever is that we're confused and not enjoying that. And the way that healing comes is by truly remembering that and helping every single part of ourselves remember it, helping every single part of everybody else remember it. And as we do that, that's how we get the new heaven and the new earth. That's how we get to 5D or ascension or, heaven on earth, paradise, is we rejoin with that. And so I love the symbolism of Christianity. I love the symbolism of the Book of Revelation. I love relating to the Eucharist that way. I love and that's a large part of what we do actually in another class of mine called Red Magic, which is part of a course called the Red Work. We do very intense tantric Jesus magic. Battle magic is a little bit different. Excuse me, but they all weave together. They're all essentially the same idea. Asheville Yacht Club says, so in Jungian terms, Revelations is like a really long dream sequence. Absolutely. Ding, ding, ding. You got it. That's exactly what it is. It's a dream. It's a dream which is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And all of life, all of the world is also that dream. So this dream, so you can look around you. Mother Teresa, I'm glad that you liked that. I can say a lot more about it. I could go on literally for hours about the Book of Revelation, but that's kind of like the summary point. But I'll also say this, which is that, so there's the scripture, there's the Book of Revelation, and then there's the, the Renaissance philosophers used to call it the Book of Nature. There's life all around us. This whole world, every person, every car, every ugly strip mall, every tree, every little birdie, we are all a huge mandala. We are the mandala of Christ. Judas, Pilate, King Herod, Mary Magdalene, Peter, Thomas. Everything spirals out from that center point. Everything spirals out so that this whole world is the mandala of Christ, and the Book of Revelation is part of the mandala of Christ. And every character is Christ. There's Judas Christ, there's Pilate Christ, there's King Herod Christ, there's everybody is hanging on the cross of space and time, suffering, being sacrificed, giving self to self, learning to do this work of redemption, learning to participate in it, learning to love unconditionally, learning to forgive unconditionally, learning to absorb deep grace and radiate grace to others. And that's what's going on. That's all that's ever going on. We're the cross of the phenomenal world is giving birth to the rose of realization, is giving birth to the rose of Christ consciousness. That's what's happening. We as humans are blossoming into the rose Excuse me. Sorry, all these burps. I really should lay off the fizzy water, but I love it. Okay, well, this has been a great talk today. JL Scruggs, this talk will be on my Instagram wall when it's over. And I do really welcome everybody to comment, like, share if you've enjoyed our conversation today. Definitely, when I post this on my Instagram wall, please comment there and give me any thoughts or reflections or questions that you would like me to address more. And I'm glad that some of us are gaining new perspectives and understandings. And I just want to emphasize, you are completely good. You are completely innocent. You are utterly redeemed. Jesus, the Tao, Rigpa, Babylon, whatever we want to call it, utterly loves you and sees you as delightful and perfect. You can do this work of integration, whether it's with me or somewhere else. You can learn how to integrate and bring every single part of you into coherence. And when you do that, not only will you be blossoming your own life, you will be blossoming the collective consciousness, winning the war against incoherence, getting us, doing your part in getting us through this birth canal where humanity is being born into a new realization. So I will be offering Battle Magic in the first couple weeks of May, so stay tuned for that. I would love for you to sign up and join me. It's a life-changing course. It's a life-changing teaching. Again, if you don't want to do this with me, I recommend you find somebody else to do it with, but it's the work to be done right now. Please don't lie to yourself that anything else is more important. Do not lie to yourself that, getting more approval or getting more material comfort or getting more anything, cute cat videos, is more important than learning and doing and investing in this work of integration. Because really nothing is more important on Earth right now. We're at a precipice. We could blow ourselves up. We could have an AI apocalypse. Nuclear warfare is on the table in a lot of places. This integrative work has to be done. It has to be done by humans. We have to participate in it. That's how grace unfolds into the rose. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.